Hello, my name's Gary. This is Small Scale Big Dreams. Welcome back to my workshop, and today we're going to talk about the 9F. Roll the intro. Right, well, welcome back. I've had a bit of a break in between the last videos, but I want to try and catch us up now. We're pretty much at a position where the engine is now back together. There's a fair few things I want to kind of explain what I've been up to, some of the issues I've faced, what we're going to try and do next. And then we're going to look at basically the engine. I've got some footage of it doing this, that and the other. Yeah, so first off, we'll start on the bench here, and then we'll go over to the loco and I'll take you around it and show you what's been going on. Right, here we are then. We'll start with this, and then I'll move over to the loco and I'll sort of walk us through what I've been doing. But just bring you all back up to speed. The 9Fs had some issues, and we went out for a run at Gillen East in North Yorkshire. Lovely setup, really enjoyed it the day anyway. The engine had some major issues. We put it down to a C piston valve, which we're going to talk about now. I've held all that out, reworked it, fitted two new lubricating systems completely, really. The old system's just gone. And again, we've got videos on the channel, sort of speak you through all those. The recent work had a few breaks, but has been really around replacing this bobbin. Now, what you normally have is the piston valve moves up and down the valve bore. Quite a precise machine piece of kit. You need to spend a lot of time and effort sort of making these. You need to get them quite precise, and they're designed to fit the bore, both radially and obviously where these crack open the ports. And again, I've got some drawings, I'll show you that in a minute. This is kind of what has come out. This is the old one, and it had this kind of weird made in three parts. Don't know why. It's all a little bit of a mess. And again, the camera angles aren't great, and maybe I'll show you this in a different way. But essentially, it wasn't sealing. I'll put some footage up of it when we tested the loco on air. We took it all apart. This was the stuff that was in it. I don't know. I can't answer. I don't know what this is all about. So anyway, I've decided we would make some new ones. And in the background here, we've got some hand-done drawings. There's a kind of new valve bobbin with some of the sizes. And we'll talk about the sort of process I've had to go through for this. We'll talk about in this video, but this has not been a straightforward exercise, and I've had to lean heavily on other YouTube channels. So I'll probably link a couple of those things. It's been a kind of suck it and see, work your way through it, trying to figure out what someone's done before, why they've got the measurements I've got on here, how they fit with the bore and the ports in the engine, and kind of what I want to do next. So here's the bobbin, and I made it as a complete one. So I didn't break this in half or anything. This was just one piece, and I'll put some pictures up to show you that. They're pretty rough drawings, to be fair. I'm not a draftsman, but you kind of get the picture. So the two points where the rings sit, and I'll talk about the rings. And then you have this central portion here, and then obviously I made it into one, but this was all in like 3 bits. So yeah, so there was that. We finished off the lubrication system, and I'll walk you around all that. But there's also a process I want to go through now. We've got the engine running on air. It seems to run okay. but there's some things I really want to sort of do next. And probably the easiest way to do is I'll take you over to the engine, talk about what I went through, show you the points, and then we'll come work on that from there. Right, we'll do that. Right, okay, a bit of an odd angle, but we'll give it a go anyway. So here she is. I've finally completed fitting the new valve bobbin. We can talk a bit more about that and kind of what my next jobs are and all that kind of stuff. But essentially, the valve bobbin is what controls the steam flow. So as the motion, the wheels turn, the motion moves. It moves this, turns a rotational motion into a linear motion, and it moves this bobbin over a set of ports which lets steam in and out. Very simply put, you know. On this loco, it was this valve. So this is the right-hand side of the loco as you were driving it. You'd obviously sit over here and there'd be a tender. And it was a right-hand valve that had seized. And we put it down to the fact that there was no lubricator here like this one. And again, there's video showing you how I've fitted all that together and going through the process and all that kind of thing. There was one on the other side. I've proved that that didn't work reliably. So I replaced it with 2 brand new ones. There's a brand new one on the other side and the same this side, symmetrical systems. I put it all back together, put it on air. So basically there's an attachment you can stick on the back of the engine. In fact, it's still on. Yeah, it's still on there. And it's just a push fit bayonet connection. And you can fill the engine with air into the boiler from a little compressor we've got here. And then basically you can run and set it and all that kind of thing. It saves you having to have it in steam and red hot. It'd be an absolute nightmare trying to do it that way. So we've done that. We put the old valve in. We did all the running on air and the tests and things, and it was really, it just didn't work. It just wasn't having any of it really. So decided, right, okay, we'll have this side out. This is the one that seems to cause the trouble. We decided then, right, we'll have new rings. And the more I looked at this valve that was in here, so I'll just grab this again. It's this thing I just showed you on the bench. In its bits, I was like, right, I just don't think that's very good. So what I decided to do, we put some air on it, we put some pressure behind this, and we looked basically at the valve at the front end. You can get in the cap, and I got some footage and put it up, and you'll be able to see the air, and it's leaking through not just around the edges, which is obviously where it should seal, but out the middle as well. So the air is literally coming through the center. So if I just hold that up there like that. See that okay? See the big hole there? Well, there's a valve rod that goes through there, and it was pouring out of there as well. So it's obviously pushing past this, whatever this is, and basically leaking out of both heads. And she'd always had a bit of trouble steam not so bad. Air's always been a bit of a problem to get her to run. And again, there's a video on my channel right early days, about last year when I got her, the year before last now probably, where air isn't a thing. That's fine. Steam is a lot more powerful. It's much better. But it should be able to run and test it on air. It's a much more straightforward way of doing that than trying to steam it up in the shed every 10 minutes. It's just nightmare. So we've gone for a whole new valve, a whole new bobbin in one piece. And what does that mean? So that is a stick of cast iron, meehanite. I basically machined a blank like that, and I'll talk about this blank in a minute. Machined it to the same size as the old one, in the bits, and then redid the grooves did everything so all the faces matched. I didn't put such a big hole down the middle because it needs a little bit of float, but not too much. So I didn't want to go too large on it because I've used the same valve spindle that was in there. That seemed sensible. But through that entire process, while I was making the new valve, there's a couple of things. So obviously I've done a fair bit of research to try and figure out how you make these valve bobbins, what the best process is, obviously materials, all that kind of thing. You've got to get them pretty accurate. I think I've done a pretty good job in that I've made what was the old valve much better and to the same dimensions. Whether those dimensions are right is probably a question for another video, but I will sort of try and address it in this one and sort of the next steps. So with that, we've ran her on air, had a bit of a tweak. There's a couple of ways. Again, you go on YouTube, watch some videos. If you just type in piston valve setting, they all come up. There's, Mr. Crispin, the one where he made the new valve bobbin. Wow, yeah, brilliant. And then he used that as a guide. Definitely didn't copy his process because it was out of his equipment. There's also one from the Steam Workshop where they set the valves. And again, I'll just show you this. Let's put this in. So you've got a tube. Mine's much muckier than theirs. And then basically you put the tube from the cylinder drain cock into a bottle, like so. And then what you can do, so, see, that goes on the cylinder drain cock, which is just there. So you put it on the front one. There's a load of setting, and again, we'll talk about this in a second as well. And I'll bring you a bit closer for that. You can set the position of front dead center, back dead center, and then basically you should be able to move the valve on the spindle end, and it should just crack the port, and that should be basically top dead center, and the same for the rear dead center. So we did that as, we tested the left-hand side, which I haven't really fully had out. That looked all okay. I haven't done too much with that. It seemed to work fine. It had plenty of oil in it when we took it off for a start. This side, obviously, with the old bobbin in its 3 parts, complete mess. You just couldn't get it. It just blowing air through every hole, no matter where it was, which clearly says that the rings are gone. The valve bobbins are way too small. It's kind of been a bit of a rush job, I guess, to get the engine finished at some stage by someone. So that really led to me the idea of making a whole new bobbin. And then I got into what's the right dimensions and all that kind of stuff. I've managed to replicate the old one to a much better sort of finish. And again, I'll put some pictures on and you can see the kind of process. I did try and get some video of it, see if that's any good. And if I can, I'll pop it on the back of this video. So you don't have to sit and watch a machine running for 20 minutes. Or however long it took. But now we've managed to be able to set the valve. It's in a relatively good position. We've had it running on air. I'll show you the footage of that, both sides. It's not 100%, but it's pretty close. We got to a stage where essentially you could have it running very nicely forward, but it wouldn't go backwards. And you could have it vice versa, so running backwards, but it's very sluggish forwards. I think that I've got more work to do for these. I think the valves have probably got too much what they call lap and lead. The dimensions are pretty good, but I'm wondering if it's too long. But I will steam the engine relatively soon. I just wanted to pull this video out so you can sort of catch up with what I've done. It's not just the valve, but it's been sort of an hour or two here and there over the last month or so at least. I've been away on holiday and stuff like that in between as well, and it's been a bit of a do a bit, go a step backwards, a couple of steps forward, maybe back a step, then a couple of steps forward, and then we seem to get somewhere. All sorts of trials and tribulations of 5-inch gauge steam engines, or steam engines in general, actually. So yeah, I'll bring you in and show you some of the marking up for the front dead center and back dead center I had to do. Sort of just show you what it looks like now, and then I'll probably bring over some of the components and things, and then we'll go back to the sort of bench drawing board area, and we'll look at the kind of the next steps for the engine and the next steps for me in regards valves and learning a lot more about valve travel, piston valves, sealing, rings, and all that kind of thing. Good. Okay. Hopefully you can see this all right. I just sort of wobble you around a bit. Sorry about that. Okay, there you go. It's kind of a weird angle because I want to kind of show you what it's designed to position, if you like, what it's all about. So on the main, this is the central driving axle. Now this is a 210 hour, so you've got 2 pony wheels and 10 driving wheels and no pony wheels at the back. So the central driving one is this one here. Now hopefully you can see on the camera, there's quite a sort of mark here. Now this is front dead center. What that means is that this is all at the front, but that this piston is at its very forward position. And there's 2 marks either side. So there's the first mark and then the second mark. And what you do is you roll the engine forward. There's a mark across there and a mark on this in this brass part, which hopefully you can see it. Well, you don't have to worry about seeing it. As you come to that point, you make a mark at the bottom. You pin it, well, you center dot it, rotate it round so it goes fully forward and then comes back to that line, dot it again, and then you measure between the two dots here, and you scribe until you get a centre mark. You pop that, and that's your front dead centre. Very simply. It's a lot harder to do in real life, and there's some videos that go into it in massive depth, and again, you can just search for that. I don't really want to put that on YouTube and say that that's how, you know, how easy it sounds. Loads easier. It was quite difficult. We had to do it on the bench because on these rolling roads it's quite hard to turn it, weirdly. But there you go. So we got that position and then back dead centre as well, which is actually up here, but I'm not going to rotate everything around because it's a pain. So once we'd figured those out, we could then set the valve. So as you can imagine, there's the valve's on a threaded spindle part, and when you're in that position, you can move the valve into a certain position. So once you're in this configuration, as it were, this setting, and full forward, actually, I meant to mention, and then full backwards for the rear, you should be able to set the valve to allow it just to basically crack open. I had to open mine a little bit more, and I think it's mainly to do with the valve design, the valve bobbin design. And I need to go away and figure all that out. And there'll be some, you know, there's some people in the world who know all about that kind of stuff, who'll be much better at it than me, and I need to go and catch up. So we did that, and using the bubble method that I sort of described just now, we managed to find the right position. This is not a treatise on setting valves. There is good videos of that on a much easier engine to handle, but we had to do it because I needed to set the valves. So that's kind of where we got to. So you can imagine there's been a lot of messing around and doing bits and pieces. Okay, move on. Right, okay, so that is a bit of a whistle-stop tour. Don't want to make this massively long. Appreciate those who are still watching. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who's recently subscribed. I think we're just 704 subscribers, which is fantastic. I actually enjoy making the videos. I just haven't had the chance to get content to give you any kind of updates. Hopefully I'll be making another one very soon because there's still a bit more to go. I'm hoping this week, beginning of September this week, we'll steam it, because my main concern next is obviously the valve bobbin will run on air. There's no heating air for this setup. Once you start putting steam through it, I mean, it should run like the clappers, hopefully. But obviously I want to make sure, I mean, the valve liner, the piston bobbin, it's got brand new piston rings on it. They're all cast iron, so they should be okay as long as the lubrication works, which it should do because they're all brand new now and set up. And I've proved them, and you can, you know, I've got them all set up, and you can prime them and all the wonderful things you need to do. She should run on steam very well, and you get to hear the beat as well. And that's kind of what tells you when an engine's running right, when it's set up right. The beat will tell you if something's off. And this is exactly what happened at Gilling earlier in the year. And it'd be actually nice to drive it and get some footage and go out with it and sort of see the Model Engineering Club. I haven't been down there for ages. I hadn't had any spare time at all. Mainly because every time I got a spare minute, it was in here trying to figure this out, amongst other things. So that's where we are. So we'll do a bit of a kind of table closeout, and then we'll go and see you from there. Okay, that's been a little bit disjointed, but I don't want to take it too much further because I need to get my head around some things first. A big thank you to everyone who's recently subscribed. As I say, I think we're on 700 odd now, which is great. Thank you ever so much. I do enjoy making the videos. I'd like to start making more regular ones. I'm trying to get some mounts set up in the workshop so that I can put the camera in, shoot some footage, sort of do these sort of update videos much easier and that kind of thing. So we're going to, you know, hopefully you'll see some improvements. I'm even thinking about changing the name of the channel and that kind of thing, but we'll see how things go. Please do let me know if there's anything else you want to see. Appreciate I've kind of glossed over the whole valve timing and all that kind of stuff. It's really involved. I'm still very much learning on that front. I've done slide valves, which is slightly different to what I've got here. These are all piston valve engines. Done slide valves quite a bit on full size, but this has been a whole new ball game. So I'll put some pictures up of the engine running on air, and hopefully you'll be able to see that the improvement is quite significant. I'll show you that all the leaks and all that kind of stuff. The next job is really to test it in steam, and I'll do that on the rolling road here. And then she's actually due a boiler ticket. I think it's this month. I'll have to check, which shouldn't be a problem. I get a new steam test fine. I've just done hydraulic last year, which was all sides of fun. But yeah, so next thing, I think I'll steam test her here. Test the engine here on the rolling road, get her down the club, have a steam test, actually have it running around again. But we'll just make sure that everything is working. From that point on, hopefully we'll get some running footage. It might be in winter, but it'll be the best I can do. I want to reorganize the workshop. You can't see it on the camera, but I've got loads of shelvings and stuff here. You've probably seen it in some of the other videos or in the back of this one from time to time. I've cleared out loads of space here. I want to kind of have things on display rather than sat in the transport boxes in the way, because I need to empty them to put the engine in to get them in the car. Blah, blah. Yeah, so I'm trying to reorganize. I've had a bit of a clear out, get rid of some stuff, just tooling I had that we're never going to use, that kind of thing, stuff too big. So, yeah, now hopefully next time I'll have some footage of the engine in steam, hooray, and we'll carry on with getting it put back together. Maybe even do some work on, if we get that far, to like having a steam test done and have it running at the club again. That'd be great. And I haven't seen anyone down the club for a long time, so that'd be great to go do. So again, thank you all so much for watching. If you've made it this far, I hope you've enjoyed your nice sleep that you're obviously going to be getting. Having listened to me this long. So please do say like, share and subscribe. Talk to your friends about it if they're interested. If they just like people who have weird hobbies, whatever, fantastic. Any comments, I know the regulars that do comment quite regularly. I do answer them all at this stage, and I will continue to do so while I can. It's great. Love it. Okay. Thank you ever so much, everyone. See you all soon.